Let's call the October 18th work session to order. First thing's our pledge, led by Mr. Jeff Jordan.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Okay, is there anything on the consent agenda anybody wants to take off, change, questions? Okay, if nothing anybody wants to change there, we'll move right on to, yes.
If I could, because of the way we're running October payroll this time, if you have any questions about the supplements, I need to know tonight. I can stop the checks, but the checks will be processed tomorrow otherwise. But we can
Okay.
withhold the check if you have any problems with them.
Anybody got any questions on the checks or supplements?
Those are under the consent agenda.
Ma'am?
Those are under the consent agenda, the supplements.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
She said was it within the consent agenda, but she can still ask questions.
Yeah, you can still ask questions about it.
Okay. I know this is probably the second time I've seen, forgive me, just being new and asking questions, that we've seen some of these payments, and some of them I understand come from booster clubs, and some of them are salary supplements. It's a lot of money. Is there some way, because I know that these are probably cut and pasted into this Word document, is there some way that we can get one document that has all of the money that goes to all of the schools? Does that make sense?
It would be quite a project. They do not come in a way like that. This list really isn't cut and pasted.
Is that something that's maybe available on an Excel spreadsheet? Maybe it's not one great big one, it's just different tabs? Maybe there's supplements on one and
sheets, but that really, Miss Egley in my department types this information from the forms that come in.
okay.
So the first year we did this, we did a summary at the end of the year, but it was pretty much a very high level.
And is that the end of the school year after everything's dispersed?
We did it at the end of that school year, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
That's something we could look at doing, but it is the board.
I know this is just kind of off the cuff, but I just see a whole,
Oh, yeah.
lot of,
Yeah.
You've got your funding source there, and then you have the not to exceed amount, right? Now, does that not to exceed amount mean that it goes up to, or does it,
It means it should
either or it shouldn't?
It should not. If we exceed that amount, we put it back on
Gotcha.
the listing. So the board, when we started running all of these through payroll, I'm sorry for taking this off task, the board basically, when they made that change and it had to go through us, really they've questioned a few, but we've pretty much taken what the schools request and have money for, we run through. So whatever this board wishes to do, we will do our best to comply with that.
okay. And as you always do, thank you. Am I the only?
Ma'am?
Go ahead. I was just wondering, am I the only one that has a question? I'm sorry, I'm new.
I do have a question, and I apologize. Forgive me, as I'm a new board member. But we are talking about item F, correct?
That's
Yes.
Yes.
And so then my question would be, I see that there's like predominantly one school. How does that come in? Do they come in sections?
Talking about Eagleville?
Yeah, I noticed that Eagleville has.
The Eagleville is for the junior pro program. Do you want to cover that, Mr.?
No, go ahead. We went over this, but I'll let you.
Okay.
You did a real fine job there.
Well, Mrs. Egley pulled this together for me. Eagleville handles all of the payment of the officials for Junior Pro. The Junior Pro program is sponsored by the County Rec League. And basically, 8 or 9 of our county elementary schools participate. The school gets to keep the gate and any concessions, but the school pays about $250 to Eagleville because Eagleville handles all the officials and everything. These not to exceed numbers are for the officials spread around these 8 or 9 schools and projection for the season.
Makes perfect sense. Okay, thank you.
And when your first comment about number of schools, when 1 month we'll get 1 schools, we might get another, one school may be heavy on one list, light on another. It switches all about.
Okay, thank you.
It's a little confusing the way we do that with Eagleville, but it works good for them, and we can keep up with the money that way. And next we go over, we'll have recognition. You want to comment on that before we go any further? Got quite a few of them.
Yeah.
That's a good part of the program.
Right. We've got our national merit semifinalists. We're very fortunate to have so many. 14 Rutherford County seniors spanning 4 high schools have been named semifinalists for the National Merit Scholarship Corporation. Students were named from Blackman High School, Central Magnet School, Riverdale High School, and Siegel High School. The organization recently announced 16,000 semifinalists from across the country as part of its 64th annual National Merit Scholarship Program. These Rutherford County students are as follows: Blackman High School, Keegan Hemsley, Central Magnet, Zachary Allgood, Evan Anderson, Caleb Kennard, Anad Gada, Russell Harper, Madeline Mansfield, Matthew Rigsby, Megan Scott, Simran Srivastava, I butchered that, I'll get better at that, Camille Warren, and Jack Zhao. Riverdale High School, Carolyn Farrell, and Siegel High School, Richard LaLance. We're very proud of them, and I'm sure they'll be with us on Thursday night.
Okay. Next, we got the FFA awards.
And recognizing our Rutherford County FFA chapter, 9 Rutherford County high school students representing 2 area high schools have been recognized and will represent Tennessee at the National FFA Convention in Indianapolis, Indiana, for national honors in the areas of dairy handlers, activity, as well as livestock and horse evaluation. The Rutherford County FFA chapter members are as follows: Eagleville FFA, Lane Holshoff. Lane Holshoff is a junior at Eagleville School. He was recognized as the Dairy Handler Activity State winner in the area at Tennessee State Fair held earlier this month in Nashville, Tennessee. Oakland High School FFA, Caitlin Taylor, Ella Hayes, Jacob Meyer, Jacob Tipton, Maddie Hawkins, Gracie Anderson, Savannah Scott, and Jorge Segovia. Those will be with us also on Thursday night. The above Oakland High School FFA students will represent Tennessee at the National FFA Convention in Indianapolis, Indiana, with 2 state-winning teams, livestock evaluation and horse evaluation.
Okay. And looks like we've got quite a few reward schools.
All right, we do have quite a few reward schools, and it was last Thursday that the commission, the full commission, recognized these reward schools, and we'll be recognizing them also. The reward schools fall in 10%, the top 10% in the state of Tennessee in achievement and or growth, or both in some of these cases. We have Barfield Elementary, Blackman Elementary, Blackman Middle School, Browns Chapel Elementary, Cedar Grove Elementary, Central Magnet School, Eagleville School, John Coleman Elementary, Las Casas Elementary School, McFadden School of Excellence, Rockvale Middle School, Smyrna Elementary School, Stewart's Creek Elementary, Stewart's Creek Middle School, and Thurman Francis Arts Academy. We're very excited that we had these 15, and we look to add on more next year.
them all to be there now.
Absolutely.
Okay, 8, historic marker, Holloway High School.
Holloway High School is requesting that be approved to make the area place a plaque of African American Heritage Society of Rutherford County's request to place a historic marker there at the original Holloway High School site. This will be pending state approval.
Any questions on that? All right.
Just a little note of history. I think Mr. Lee told me that the original building burned. Is that correct? Okay. All right, so this is this is something we hope is approved and as we go forward with this. All right, facilities, is that what we're up to?
We're on it.
All right. Central Magnet School Parking Edition, AIA, change order document. Jarrett Builders Incorporated has submitted an additive change order in the amount of $16,539.14 for additional scope of work to be performed in addition to the parking lot construction. The additional work consists of landscaping the area around the parking lot, adding gator bags to water trees and installation of water line to within 300 feet of the parking area for maintenance of plant materials as per Murfreesboro City codes. This would change the contract amount for the construction of Central Magnet School Parking Lot Addition from $242,000 to $258,539.14. Mr. Lee, you want to explain this to us?
Yes, sir. Murfreesboro codes requires an irrigation line, or you have to have a source of water within 300 feet of your plants. They also added some additional plant material to the parking lot we recently completed. So basically the bags are they hold us responsible for the first year. We can hold the contractor responsible for the plants living for the first year, but the city holds us responsible for 2 years. So if we have to water due to drought, which this year, fortunately, we've been fairly fortunate. We've had quite a bit of rain. But come next year, we could not be so fortunate, so we're added gator bags, green bags to the bottom of the tree. All of this is to meet the city of Murfreesboro's requirements. Mr. Sandvik just brought up, we will have to provide the city with a landscape bond, 2-year bond. That's typical in the city of Murfreesboro.
Sure does get expensive to be a good neighbor, doesn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. B.
Central Magnet School proposed softball baseball project. Enclosed, you will find a proposed project involving Central Magnet School's softball and baseball programs. The staff at Central Magnet is requesting to install a new batting cage area, a pitcher and a catcher area, and a dirt infield practice area. These areas are 3 separate projects at no cost to the board. Funding for the first 2 projects is available now, along with the material and labor donations from the MTSU CIM program. The Engineering and Construction Department has reviewed these requests and locations and find them acceptable. These requests will need approval from the City of Murfreesboro Historical Zoning Board. We have Dr. Ash here tonight. He can answer any questions that you may have.
No mention of any lighting whatsoever, so I assume there is none.
We really do appreciate MTSU and their concrete management program offering to do this project for us. It saves quite a bit of money. But I mean, this is not a place, or we will never have game there, so there'd be no point.
But you could practice there at night if you had lights, and I just want to make sure.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure that at night you will not be practicing at night, because the city will never approve it if there are lights. They'll never approve it, but they will, I think. But I believe they will approve it if there's no lights. And the location, I read all that. It was all on our internet, the whole thing, pictures and everything, which was extremely helpful. I'm just making sure there's no lights. That's,
No, sir.
okay.
There are no plans for that. I actually think it'll make that area look better than it does
Oh, I agree.
right now.
I agree. And it should help your ball clubs.
Hopefully.
I think Mr. Lee can speak on that.
Yeah, there's no lights. I've had preliminary conversations with the city's historical zoning board, their chairman and a couple of members on that, and they're looking favorably at this as an improvement for the area.
Thank you.
When does the zoning board, historical zoning board meet? Do you know?
They meet monthly, but the last 2 months, they haven't had anything come before them, so they haven't met. So I think we'll be able to get on the agenda, and it'll move fairly favorably.
Mr. Lee, do we know a date for that meeting yet, or will they have to schedule it?
It's the same Thursday every month, but
Okay.
this time I can't. They have a standard meeting date. It is once a month.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Rocky Ford?
Okay, building program budget amendment, or excuse me, Rocky Fork Middle School dugouts. The staff at Rocky Fork Middle School is requesting to begin construction to concrete block dugouts, with one to have a storage facility as part of its structure. This request is of a similar construction and design to the other middle school dugouts. This request is at no cost to the school board. Engineering and Construction has reviewed the request and finds it acceptable. Rocky Fork Middle will be requesting the same dugouts for softball at a later date. Now, one of my questions with that was a couple of things. Number one, how will we address this while they don't have the dugouts? And it's been brought to my attention that they're going to be sharing it with softball. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. I had conversations with Dr. Sullivan, and right now they're going to be using the storage area for both teams, which will help. They're anticipating coming back in the spring with softball, having their funding in place to build the dugouts, but in the interim, they will be sharing the dugout storage space.
Any other questions?
All right, building program budget amendment, Fund 189. The building program amendment cleans up line items when existing projects in the yellow columns moves funds from the completed or nearly completed projects to other projects that are in the blue columns. No new funds are being requested. The following line item amendments within projects: Oakland Middle Annex, $2,090,825. Rocky Fork Elementary, $5,690,804. David Urey Addition, $29,820. Smyrna Middle Renovation, $159,095. Rockville High School, $7,055,919. Siegel High Addition, $323,000. Eagleville New Highway 99 Entry, $9,700, for a grand total of $15,359,163. The large amendments primarily move budgeted construction dollars to site development. When a new project is approved, the construction dollars include both the construction contract and site development. The amount to charge to the site development is uncertain until the contract has been awarded and we have worked with the architect and the contractor. We combine these two pieces initially and amend when we have a good idea of the amount. The existing funds completed projects to other projects are as follows. Rocky Fork Middle, $505,816. David Urey Addition, $59,198. Smyrna Middle Renovation, $70,474. Total existing funds to other projects, $635,488. Projects receiving existing funds: Rocky Fork Elementary, $287,333. Siegel High Addition, $11,419. Rock Springs Elementary Addition, $10,944. New secondary project, $325,792. Now, well, you ask what that is. asked Mr. Stanvik, and he informs me what that is. It's allocated for any other secondary projects 9 through 12. 7 through 12. 7 through 12. So it's allocated only 7 through 12. And that way we don't share any kind of capital project funding with the city. Total projects receiving existing funds, $635,488. At Rocky Fork Elementary, we had an issue, a change order for up to $1,300,000 due to adverse soil conditions. The R.G. Anderson bid was $1,780,000 under the second low bidder. We thought it would be prudent to use the existing elementary funds from Rocky Fork Middle to cover part of this cost. It is still early in the project, but we are hoping to cover much of this additional cost within the existing budget.
I have a question just for clarification. Back to that new secondary project, that funds, those aren't already allocated, they're just in the event that they're needed?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Guess we're ready for new and revised policies.
Okay. New and revised policies. Policy 1.701, School District Planning. Purpose of revision. The State Board recommends updating this policy to align with the changes to the State Board of Education Policy 2.101. B, Policy 3.212, District Water Testing. Purpose of the revision. Public Chapter 977 requires every Board of Education to develop a policy on reducing potential sources of lead contamination in drinking water in public schools. Policy 3.212 addresses this topic and complies with the requirements of state law. Policy 3.405, Contracted Bus Service. Purpose of the revision. Policy 3.405 has been updated to clarify the definition of first priority bus driver. Policy 4.600, Grading System. Purpose of the revision. Policy 4.600 has been updated to include state mandated changes to the allocation of weighted points to advanced coursework. E, Policy 4.602, grade point average and class rank 9 through 12. Purpose of the revision. Policy 4.602 has been updated to include state mandated changes to the allocation of weighted points to advanced coursework. F, Policy 4.608, transcript alteration. Purpose of the revision. This new policy is required by state law for all systems that alter transcripts. Public Chapter 557 states that transcripts may only be altered by an LEA employee if there is a policy governing student transcript alterations. G, and I think this is what you have in front of you, and you can see the highlighted part. G, 5.106, application and employment. Purpose of the revision. Policy 5.006 has been updated to include information regarding checking with the Department of Children's Services and the state's Vulnerable Persons Registry to these policies to highlight the district's responsibility in this area.
Anybody, Ms. Bush, you want to comment on what you and Mr. Reed came up with on that?
Yes, so this was the policy that Ms. Moore requested that be changed to reflect the provisions of the Americans with Disabilities Act. I worked with Mr. Reed to change this policy slightly to reflect, and this is on page 2, line 1. Starts on page 1, line 31 and 32, but the sentence states, who does not present a certificate from a licensed healthcare provider showing a satisfactory physical examination, or who has a contagious or communicable disease, in such form that might endanger the health of school children, subject to the provisions of the Americans with Disabilities Act and associated regulations. So we also added that on page 2 to the, excuse me, I'm looking for line 12, 13, 14. We added that as well to that. After we have approved that language pursuant to that recommendation. Thank you very much for doing that.
Any other questions on that? Okay.
H, policy 5.118, background investigations. Purpose of the revision. Policy 5.118 has been updated to comply with state law mandating that employees submit to a background check every 5 years. I, policy 5.203, recommendations and file transfers. Purpose of the revision. Public Chapter 938 prohibits districts from entering into a non-disclosure agreements with the existing or former employee accused of any act of sexual misconduct, e.g. sexual harassment, sexual assault. TSBA recommends updating 5.203 to highlight this prohibition. Policy 5.302, sick leave. Purpose of the revision. Policy 5.302 has been updated to comply with state law changes to maternity paternity leave and to reflect the sick leave documentation procedure recommended by Human Resources in spring of 2018. K, Policy 5.305, Family and Medical Leave Act. Purpose of the revision, previously state law limited to the amount of sick leave employees could use during maternity and paternity leave. Public Chapter 907 removes that limitation and allows employees to use paid leave, sick or annual, toward maternity or paternity leave. Policy 5.305 has been updated to reflect this language. L, Policy 6.200, attendance. Purpose of the revision. Due to the changes to State Board of Education Policy 4.100, the excused absence list is in Policy 6.200 has been modified. Policy 6.200 has been updated to align with this new requirement. M, Policy 6.309, zero tolerance offenses. Purpose of the revision. Policy 6.309 has been updated to include a new zero tolerance offense. Public Chapter 958 adds assault that results in bodily injury to the list of zero tolerance offenses. Of course, this is staff. All right. N, Policy 6.313, discipline procedures. Purpose of the revision. Policy 6.313 has been updated to include a new zero tolerance offense. Public Chapter 958 adds assault that results in bodily injury to the list of zero. I read that. Is that two of them in a row there? Is it the same language here?
Yes, they both have been changed pursuant to the same public chapter.
Gotcha.
That's why the language is twice.
Okay. So Public Chapter 958 adds assault and results in bodily injury to the list of zero tolerance offenses. Okay. O, Policy 6.314, corporal punishment. Purpose of the revision. Public Chapter 900 adds requirements regarding administering corporal punishment to students with disabilities. Policy 6.314 has been updated to comply with these requirements.
Okay, we'll take all of these as one motion tomorrow night, or Thursday night. Insurance update. I'm sure you've got some questions or answers, right?
I hope so. We're definitely involved right now with open enrollment as of the 15th, going through noon on November the 5th. I believe Mr. Sandvig provided a chart for you, and our next meeting will be at the end of this month.
Mr. Sandvig, want to comment on the increases?
No. No, the chart, this is the first year in 3 years that, and I like to look at it September through August, because that more matches the way the school board employee premiums flow. This is, looking at that particular 12-month slice, this is the first year in 3 we have had a surplus in that. Makes me feel good. The rate increases on the copay plan, effective January 1st, is 1%, and we have that shift of another percentage point for dependent coverage. So the total increase the employee will see is higher. But the commission voted 5-6 years ago to drop what we and the county pay toward dependent coverage down toward 80%. The HRA plan had an 8% increase this year. Well, this is the second year in a row, at least, with at least a double digit. One year it was 20, the other was 16% increase in the deductible plan. That is the email, or those are the 2 emails I sent out to everyone. Those have very stiff increases, and any of our employees who are on that deductible plan need to go into the ADP Workforce Now, our new re-enrollment software, and make certain they want to pay those premiums. Because if they do not change on their January checks that insurance come out, it will go to those new significantly higher premiums. And I wanted them to be aware of that.
Okay. What percentage are we at now with the 80%?
We are at 82%. I think for 2019, I've got that in a file. I've looked at so many numbers. We're at 82, I know we are. 82. But for the deductible plan, the commission, the recommendation the insurance committee sent forward was dropping that to 82. The commission made the decision to go ahead and drop that plan to 80%.
Well, that's one reason it's up.
That's another reason that it's up high, yes, sir.
Okay.
Might be good to remember that they can vote again, too.
Commission?
Yes. If they wanted to drop it still more of their share, they could.
Absolutely, they can.
At any time.
By statute, or the interpretation we get of statute through the BEP, we only have to pay 45%. We pay a very generous amount compared to many other school systems for our dependent coverage, even when we get down to the 80%.
Let me jump in there. You know, one of the drawing cards of Rutherford County, other than it's God's country, is that we have a good school system, and people want to work in our school system. So I think I think the board has done a great job of providing for our teachers.
Mr. Sandberg.
I hope we can keep it up. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I have a few questions
Yes,
I'd like to ask Mr. Sandberg or Dr. Anthony, if you can answer just about the insurance in general. My understanding is the plan that took the big rate increase, that's the one they refer to as the copay plan,
The
correct?
deductible.
Deductible plan, thank you. There were 3 plans. There's the deductible, the copay, and then the high deductible savings account
The HRA,
plan.
yes, ma'am.
It's also my understanding that in addition to the increase, that plan is being taken off the table
Or
for new employees.
Or existing employees who are not already on it.
They can, even if they were willing to take that rate increase, if they're not currently on it, they don't have that plan to pick from anymore. So we essentially went from offering 3 plans to our employees to 2. And did I understand correctly when you talked about the commission voting on reducing the amount that the county would contribute to the premiums, that was different than the recommendation that was made to them by the committee?
Yes.
I need to start attending more of these meetings. So can you share why or what the reasoning was? Were you at that meeting when they voted on it?
Our cost, the county and school board cost for an employee with full coverage, family on the deductible plan, we as an employer in 2019, this calendar year, will pay $28,716.60. Even at this new 80%. The costs have gone up so dramatically because of adverse claim history. in that plan.
Even with the fact that this last claims year that our revenues exceeded our expenditures?
Yeah, when they, Ms. Street and the analysts disaggregate our claim history, the deductible plan has had several years of very severe claims history.
So basically, though, they're just transferring the risk from one plan to another, right? Because
Yeah,
those
I
bad
know,
claims are going to
sure.
remain regardless of what plan
Absolutely, yes.
those employees or dependents stay on.
Yeah, but that would transfer more of the burden to the employees. We also have employees who are opting for the deductible plan whose claims probably really don't, they're probably losing money by being on that plan.
Right.
But we
So they're
have
not
some
using
who are
it.
much more comfortable and would rather pay that higher premium.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are more comfortable with that just
You-
simply because they're
you
not educated, and
can.
I know that we try to do that, so.
You can get, I did this last year, you can get with the insurance department. There, in the spring, were 600 and I think 59 employees countywide, and proportionately, when you look at our employee size versus the rest of the county, a smaller percentage of our employees were on the deductible plan than in some of the county departments. But we have the lion's share since we're the biggest. But you can get, and Ms. Street will do her best to do it, but analyze, go in and look at your health care expenditures and, you know, okay, maybe the deductible plan or maybe the HRA plan is no longer the best plan for you. Maybe you should look at the copay or move away from the copay to the HRA. And employees I'm aware of who have done that, and I'm one of them, Ms. Street's recommendation was absolutely on target for my insurance.
So when you talk about the HRA, you're referring to the plan that's really what typically is referred to as the high deductible.
Right.
Where you can also utilize a healthcare spending account.
Right.
To put the dollars.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And just for my clarification, I know we've probably talked about this before, but the insurance committee, you both are on that committee, correct? And is it just the two of you that represent the school board, the school system? Oh, okay, so REA member.
Yeah, but it is there, so there's a teacher, REA rep.
Okay.
And then Dr. Anthony and I are voting members of 3 of the 14.
Okay, 3 of 14.
Yes, and the REA doesn't always vote with us.
Understandable. Okay, so 3 of
You know, that's
3 of 14, and what's the ratio again of the number of employees we have in the school system?
70-some%. I don't know the exact percentage.
Okay. So when a decision is made, like for instance on the selections of the plan or selections of a broker or what have you, it's voted on by that committee, then taken to the commission for final approval or
It goes to the
rejection.
budget committee of the commission and then to the full commission.
And it's my understanding also that they are in the process right now, or you are in the process of shopping for brokers.
Yes, ma'am.
To take the plan right now. When is that scheduled for? Has the committee already voted on?
I think that will go, we have looked at the plans, and I think that will be going to the insurance committee at the November 15th meeting.
How many brokers were able to submit?
Or submitted.
Would it be possible for you to, are there notes on the agenda somewhere as to which brokers those were that we can look at?
The brokers were Lockton, CBiz, Mercer, and Willis et al., the current vendor. I don't remember the exact other name.
Okay, Willis is the current broker. Okay. And are the brokers being shopped because it's a contractual date or because we're
We do a
displeased with the
3-year
current broker?
contract.
Okay. And the next meeting, you said, is on the 15th of November?
November 15th is the meeting that will be on the agenda.
I'll let you off the hook. Thank you.
Good question, Mr. Chairman. I guess this is for Mr. Sandby. if I'm understanding right, on the three plans, basically, what the insurance is trying to do is get rid of the deductible plan.
Yes, sir. When I came here in 1998, we had just had one plan. Later, we called it option 2. Some years after that, we dropped the old option 1, and that option 2 started to be called the deductible plan. And that's what we saw with our old option 1. That was a more expensive plan, and as the enrollment, as employees choosing that plan dropped, our claims history got very bad in that plan, and it was ended.
Well, what they're doing, they're raising the employees' rates on this stuff to get them out of it.
Well,
what you sent today, 25% increase,
oh, yeah.
correct?
Yeah.
So you take these EAs out there. I'm talking about EAs.
Oh, yeah.
Maintenance people,
Right.
cafeteria workers, office people, whatever. When we give them a 2% raise and you're jacking them up 25%.
Very few EAs, and let me bring up a file. I can look at what we had last winter, and this is part of my budget process each year.
But I guess my point is, the bottom line is they're trying to get rid of this plan. And to get rid of this plan, they're jacking the rates up where nobody can afford it.
Well, and again, though, that is because our claims history in this plan is...
I can look at your chart right here, the revenues versus expenditures this last year, up $8 million.
If you aggregate all three plans, yes, sir.
Well, I mean, it's up $8 million. So why are we jacking the rates up? I mean, are we going to continue to do this year after year?
Well, the attempt is to, for better for worse, to try to have the group stand on its own.
Well, I understand that, but I think, our employees here are the number one asset, and I think a lot of employees we've got are here. Now, when I talk about EAs or any of those type of people, a lot of them are here for insurance.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And
yeah.
We keep raising the rates up, we're going to start losing them people. And I still don't
disagree with that at all. Yeah.
Well, I mean, some of them paying more in insurance premiums than what they're bringing home.
We have employees, and our benefit cost is over 100% for those employees. And I think we have to keep in mind being able to sustain that. 5 to 10 years ago, I felt we had some that probably hit 80%. We've got them well over. We don't have many, but we have a few who cross over. We had 14 hourly married with family people in the deductible plan last winter. Most of them go for, a lot of them have moved toward the HRA plan.
They move there because they've been forced to.
Or to the copay plan. Yes, sir. The cost.
They've been forced to do it, is my whole point. And correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think the premiums are done on a sliding scale.
No, sir, they are not.
So, I mean, the person making $20,000 versus $80,000, they're paying the same premium.
Right.
Something's wrong. I'm voicing my opinion to you two, because y'all are the ones who represent us. I just think it's a sad day that we've got the revenues coming in now, and we're jacking the rates up.
If you combine the GPS budget is over $47 million this year for the employer portion of insurance. Federal projects are maybe $1.6 million, and the cafeteria fund is a little over $1 million. So over $50 million of the money that we handle, excluding the building program, goes toward the employer share of medical care. And that number has just done nothing but grow in the time I've been here. That number used to be a smaller percentage than our Social Security, Medicare added together. And now retirement is higher than the Social Security, Medicare number, and medical insurance is higher than either of them.
The only ones winning here is the insurance companies. We're not winning, our employees are not winning, the insurance companies are the ones that are winning. And we need to look and see what we can do to change that. I would like to ask one question here as far as when we do have a rate increase, who decides what percentage the employee pays and what percentage Rutherford County?
Commission decided that.
So they go through each plan and they decide on each plan?
Well, the percentage, the commission set that target at 80%. Again, we were at 88%, I think, then, and we're down to 82 this year, so about 6 years ago. But the commission set that target, and unless the commission takes an action to change that, each year our recommendation drops a percentage point. So for 2020, it would drop to 81%.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Young. I think you were asking concerning the increase on the premium annually.
Oh, okay. Ms. Street, and again through actuaries and all that, look at what our income and our expenditures are on each category, and they make a recommendation to try to keep that
because
solvent.
What I'm seeing here is some inconsistencies here of one plan, the individual got a 10% increase, where the individual with children or individual with spouse or family got a 32% increase.
And that is because of that shift from, when you have that shift from 83 to 82%, it increases the increase to the employee. Yes, sir.
What I'd like to recommend that we start looking at is what some of the other counties are doing. And they're looking at adding options, not taking away options, but adding options, and even adding a pick between two insurance companies. You get to pick if you want Blue Cross Blue Shield or if you want Cigna. So we need to be looking
at the state plan or?
No, this is other counties within Tennessee. They've got those options. And we need to be offering our employee more options, not narrowing it down to one or two options. I mean, it's ridiculous. It takes all your competition out of it. And we need to be adding competition.
But a couple more questions. I apologize. Check me on my numbers here, Mr. Sandvik, but if there's 14 members on that insurance committee, we have 3.
Yes.
That's roughly a 21% representation, correct? Okay. And so if we had an equivalent representation in terms of the number of employees that we represent, we would have almost 10 of that 14. Has there ever been, because your history working with this committee and with the board goes back further than me.
We had one.
HR?
Lauren's predecessor, Gail Toon, and there was an REA rep. When a second Board of Ed rep was added, I think they added 2 other, I think they went from 11 to 14. We got 1, and other county departments got 2.
And that determination is made by
the county commission.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
This may be a Dr. Anthony question. Those that are paying those rates that can't afford them, are we seeing anyone leaving because of those? Is that something that we follow, we track? And then, too, if we're losing employees, what's the cost to retrain and everything? That, you can get back with me on that or something. I know that's kind of off the cuff.
Okay, so you're asking me basically, are we losing employees because of the increase in insurance?
Yes.
None that I'm aware of. That's not listed in any of the information that we're getting on them while they're leaving. But I know that they do talk with Mrs. Street, like Mr. Sandvik said, and then compare what their expenditures are, and they have changed plans. So several of them have done that to meet the needs. Some, were paying a little bit more than what they need to, and they've just kind of right-sized that for their family.
Right, and would there be, I would assume that there would be an expense that once they leave, we have to retrain new people, and is that something that we could look at? Am I the only one that?
Well, I think the question would be, is that something we're specifically asking for information on the exit interviews?
That would only be something that they would disclose in the comments section. They have ability to write out in comments why they are leaving in addition to the questions.
Okay.
But I have not seen that.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
From anecdotal comments I've gotten over the years, going back to 1998, when I came here, I paid, at the time, noticeably more for my family medical insurance here than I had at Gaylord Entertainment. We had been owned by an insurance company. That situation, within 5 years, had reversed itself. As medical insurance kept going up, you started running into people who, come up with county commissioners, board members, whatever, who they were at that point, they, over a period of 3, 4, 5, 10 years, something like that, had gone from $80, $150 that they paid to $400, $500, $800 that they were paying for their family coverage. So when you get into, and the anecdotal comments I get is people who have a spouse with another company. More companies have done like we did, and which is why we started doing it. Spouses who have insurance available have to take that company's insurance. More of our teachers, more of our classified staff are aware of what family coverage costs elsewhere, and it makes our figures look pretty good. And there are school systems that we may not pay as much in gross pay as some of these systems, but we are paying more on the family coverage than some of those systems are. So.
On the broker presentations that you all have seen thus far, are you seeing any of them, again, kind of going back to Mr. Young's remarks about the lack of choice, which I see as a real downside too. I mean, you know, a lot of big companies and even big companies that are much smaller than our county numbers, you'll look at the menu of their benefits offerings and it looks a lot more like a smorgasbord than, hey, 2 choices, take it or leave it. Are you seeing anything creative coming out of any of these brokers as far as out-of-the-box thinking in terms of how we might improve?
We will be going out for rebid the medical plan in 2020. So I think the brokers made some allusions to, you know, we'll get in and be looking at other things that you might want to do. Some of the things that they were discussing are things a lot of what their discussion was cost control. And some of the things they mentioned are things we have already done, like this moves and all that, trying to bring back wellness testing, got a lot, the clinics. Yeah.
Have we seen the increase due to growth?
Oh, of course. That's
what we're running
into.
It.
Yes, sir.
In a nutshell.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Because of the growth, we're not able to see how much we saved on doing those type things.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's
one reason we had a larger amount going to fund balance 3 or 4 years ago was we were conservative when we rolled the spouses off. We were conservative in savings. We had more than $5 million go to ending fund balance.
Because of that one change alone?
Because of that one change.
Okay. Any other questions? Well, I've got one more. Percent of increase for retirees.
Okay. One reason, I'm really very interested in this. Y'all said a lot of things that absolutely right, I think. And I agree with what Mr. Hodge, Mr. Young said, Ms. Moore, really. Well, we need to be in a situation where we can offer our employees more options and perhaps better rates. And I think we have maybe prevented ourselves from exploring everything that we might look for to get that done. And excuse me for bringing up something personal here, and I'll go quickly. But 5 years ago, I had 4 bypasses. This is the reason insurance is so expensive. I do not have county insurance. I have Blue Cross Blue Shield. But anyway, about 5 years ago, the bill, well over $100,000. I would have had to liquidate everything that my wife and I own, everything, cars, house, everything, savings, what little it is. That's why it's so expensive, right there. I mean, well, I'm still sitting here, so clearly I hope, I hope it was $100,000 well spent. But if it had been up to me, I wouldn't have had it. So until our employees experience that, to me now, that doesn't seem like so much money. And I really disagree. I agree with what you all said down there earlier about the EA will pay the same rate as the principal of the school, say. There's just something there that the same percentage, it just doesn't seem like it's, you know, the correct thing. Now, if I'm going to go on and say something else, really in answer to Ms. Moore's questions. At the request, I guess, of Mr. Hodge and Mr. Young, and I believe there may have been others, I don't recall, I went to the mayor and Mr. Burgess and asked him about increasing the number of people that would represent the educational system on the, it's called the at-risk committee now, and it's not the insurance committee anymore. And he was very open to that. He was okay with that. But he said, and you mentioned it just a minute ago, Mr. Sandy, he said that he agreed, I don't want to put words in his mouth, but he understood that the percentages were not right, that we were underrepresented. That's pretty obvious, isn't it? And that the education system, but that the county commission looked at it as if we had 3 representatives. Now, maybe we don't vote together, but it looks to them like we have 3. And I wanted to increase that, and he said, well, the county commission will have to approve that, and if they approve it, the steering committee would have to approve that first, and that I need to go before them. And I said, well, what we really would like to have here, and I gave him the wrong number, I guess I did. I said, well, I would like for us to have 8 representatives. And turns out maybe it's 9.
Pretty close.
Yeah, I was close, but it's 9, maybe 10, but it's certainly 9. But anyway, he said, there's no way you'll ever get that through. Well, perhaps I was a coward, maybe not. I didn't go any further. But even if we had 4 or 5 or 6, we still would not have enough to carry the day. I don't think the votes would be there to do that, and I don't think they would approve that. Thank you.
Just in addition to the growth, Mr. Spurlock, with the Affordable Care Act coming in, the number of our employees opting to choose our insurance has probably gone up from about 75 to 85% in these years. So we also have that increased participation. Anything
else? Okay, we'll move on to Director's update.
Yeah, a couple of things. First of all, in front of you, somewhere close by, you've got the Rutherford County 2019 graduation dates. You can start making your plans right there. It looks like we start on May 15th and end on the, 19th? May 19th? Oh, that's not bad. We'll be having our 3rd town hall talks at Smyrna High School Monday, starting at 5:30. Is that correct? Okay. And we also want to recognize Dr. Anthony. She was named president of TASBA and also attended a conference in Minnesota this past week, and where you received an award. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Spurlock. It was my pleasure definitely to attend the National Conference for HR Leaders across the nation. It was the 80th annual conference, and this is the only organization for educators in HR. And I was recognized with a special award for my contributions to both at the state and the national level, both in leadership as the president of the Tennessee Association, the chair of the Constitutional and Bylaws Committee, and being published in the national journals, both in HR, and then I have an article coming out in December for the National Superintendents Association, AASA, on millennials. So, get a copy and read that. It'll be out soon.
Well done.
Congratulations.
Impressive.
Dr. Anthony, I'd love to see the articles that you've published. Can you send me a link to those?
You done?
I'm finished.
All right. Ms. Moore, Tennessee Legislature.
I will defer any report until Thursday, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Mr. Hodge?
I'll give you something Thursday.
Okay, thank you.
Call Washington.
General discussion by board. Everybody remember pictures Thursday? Mother Joyce has told the men what to wear, and 4:30, and new members here at 4:15, and y'all get to wear what you want to. See. Okay, that's all I've got. Anybody else? Okay. There's no other comments. We're adjourned.